Hi fellow builders, my name is Ray Moeller and I'm a member of EAA Chapter 15, which is based at Lewis University Airport in Romeoville, Illinois. And I am working on a Skybolt project that I acquired. And right now I'm working on the upper wing, and this last phase that I've been working on is installing the drag and anti-drag wires. If you go to some of the forums, you'll get a lot of different tips on how to drill the holes for the drag and the anti-drag wires. Some of them require making jigs. I haven't seen this particular method anywhere posted. I figured I would share with you my idea on drilling the holes and getting pretty good alignment. I don't know if it's any more accurate than a jig or not. Some of the jigs that I saw described in the Skybolt Builder's Manual that is available to donators on the biplaneforum.com concede that even with a jig, you may end up with some issues drilling the holes. There's no perfect jig out there. So what I want to do is, again, share with you my method of doing it. Doesn't really require any special equipment, or I should say acquisition of equipment that I didn't have. I'll go over with you how it is that I set up to drill the holes using what I have available to me in the shop. All right. I'm using a cordless drill. This is an old Makita 14 volt drill. Had it for a number of years. It's one of my favorite drills. Unfortunately, the batteries are real expensive, but so far I've been able to do a fine job. I have 5 of the 6 bays of wires installed. I'm ready to do the last one, and I thought about it as I was doing it, and I said this is working out pretty well, so I'm going to share my thoughts on doing it. What I have done with my drill is taken a piece of welding rod and fashioned a guide that will right over the top of the ribs as I drill. But it's a nice straight extension and gives me a good idea of my alignment where I'm going. I really haven't had to deal with a 90-degree attachment for drilling these holes by either choking up or more or less on the bit in the chuck. I've been able to get through. Some of them are easier to drill when you have room and none of the ribs are going to be in the way if you're using a 6-inch bit. But if you do it right as far as chucking the bit, you can quite often get through the spar and the block with just your standard 3/16 inch bit for the 3/16 inch wires. The other thing that I've done is took a small bubble level that I kind of scavenged out of a real cheap stud finder that came with a TV wall mount bracket, and I cut it out of its plastic housing and I taped it to the top of my drill. One of the things though I did was I made sure that when the drill bit was laying flat on a table that the drill was showing level. And fortunately for me, with the top of this old Makita drill, it's level in the same plane as the bit when you're drilling a straight hole. So that's my drill setup. What I'll do is I will show you how my wing is affixed to the table so you get a better idea of the space that I have for the drilling. All right, this is what I'm constructing the upper wing on. The upper wing on the Skybolt has a 6.5-degree sweep on it. And rather than building 2 large tables and putting them together, what I did was I have 4 sawhorses constructed out of 2x6 lumber. And I made them pretty much all identical. The floor in the hangar where I'm working on this is not necessarily level. So what I did was I took some 2x6s, long ones. The front happened to be a couple that I had laying around when I came up with the thoughts on laying this wing out and laying it out correctly for the sweep. Front ones happen to be just a couple feet shorter than the rear, which are 10 footers. Front ones were some 8 footers that I had lying around. And I built the spar racks based on what I saw in the Skybolt Builder's Manual that I got from the biplaneforum.com site. As you can see, the spars are clamped nice and tight in there. They rest at 6 different locations along here, so I know the wing is going to be nice and straight and level. It may be a little bit difficult to see in the video here, but one of the things that I did when I was setting up the spars is made sure that I drew a center line down the front and the back of each spar. The front spars were jigged up first, and using a laser level along the pencil line that I drew, I made sure that the racks were holding the spars level completely across the entire span of 24 feet. I'm using a solid spar in this upper wing. That's what came with the project. The project's been around for a while before I acquired it. Some folks are using the laminated spar now, but again, this one happens to be a solid spar. Okay, getting back to drilling the holes for the drag and anti-drag wires on each of these blocks. This happens to be the block that's located out here at station 79, which is just inboard of the aileron well. When I prepared these blocks, the center line of the block is measured and kind of scribed off in both directions, up and down, in and out. On my wing, all of my drag wires, which are the wires that go from an inboard leading edge point to an outboard trailing edge point or spar, all my drag wires are above the center line, and my anti-drags are going to be below the center line. The reason that those holes are drilled like that is because if you drilled them all on center, your wires would collide inside the wing spar and you wouldn't be able to get the wires through. And even though initially I was drilling one higher and one lower, I was having a couple collisions, which meant reaming out the hole a little bit. Not that it was a problem, because even when you drill the holes at 3/16 and a 1/4 inch based on which set of wires you're installing, they're still a little tight. They need to be reamed anyway. But what I found is that if I measure down, when I'm doing a 3/16 inch wire, I measure down 2/16 inch from the center line of the spar, and I make a little mark there, and then using a nail punch and a hammer, I make a impression in the wood block here. Just give it one good hit. That way I get a nice clean start with my drill bit. So with that done, I do that on all the blocks. Again, keep track of which wire it is that you're drilling, whether it be a drag wire or an anti-drag wire, so that you make your mark either below the center line or above the center line accordingly. When I did the 1/4 inch wires on the inner bays for this wing, I made my marks at 3/16 inch above the center line, and that way when I'm drilling a hole, it worked out real well as far as not having any wire collisions. So now that I've got the blocks marked as to what level I'm going to drill these holes at, let me show you how I lined up from one block to another. without having to build a jig. And it's not that I was against the work of building a jig, but when I took a look at what the cost of some of the materials was going to be to put a jig together, and the fact that you would definitely need a right angle drill because of your guide for the drill bit extending out, it got pretty expensive, somewhere in the area of $200 between the jig, the right angle attachment, etc. And you know, every $200 that you can save while doing the project is something that I can put into the project later on, whether it be for instrumentation, avionics, or you know, anything else. You know how that goes. So let me show you how I line this up. Okay, one of the things that you'll need in the method that I'm using here is simply a popsicle stick that I drew a line down pretty much on center. It's a tiny bit off, but it doesn't really make a difference for what I'm doing, because I'm really just using the line, not necessarily the stick itself, and a small piece of duct tape on the end of it. And what I would do is go to the opposing side from where I am going to use a laser level, and I would just tape this to the block. Very simple. And what I would do is I would start at the bottom of the block, line up the center line here on the center line that I drew on the block vertically, and just kind of roll it upward, push the tape on there, and that affixed it. So I'll show you real briefly how that works. Alright, now being that this is the last bay of wires that I have to do, this anti-drag wire, which starts here at this leading edge on the outboard point of the spar, is going to be drilled on center. The opposite end of it is going to be drilled low, because again, it's the anti-drag wire. I've drilled my drag wires up above center line, my anti-drags down below center line. But if you see, with my vertical line here on the block, and I just put a little extra mark here so I know where that line lies. Take my popsicle stick, start at the bottom, lining it up, and as I roll it to the top, then I know that my lines are lined up. Just take the piece of duct tape, push it on a block, and as you can see, it holds it there fine just for what I need to do with it. Zoom out a little bit, and that's the way it goes. Now I had previously marked this, so you're going to see this line over here on top, the extension, but I'll show you where that came from momentarily here. So this is one side. Now we'll get the other side lined up. Alright, for this next step here in drilling the wires, here's what I'm using. And again, it's just something that I happen to have in the shop. It's been one of the most useful tools I think that I've ever required, other than a hammer and a drill. This is Fat Max laser level, made by Stanley. And again, I've had it for probably 10 years. It was actually a gift from my brother who is in the trades. And he said, you're going to find some good uses for this. And I have. But what I've done with it is I've mounted it to a camera tripod. Extra camera tripod here. And I've got it standing nice and tall, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So that's another tool here in this process. Again, it's something I already had. I didn't have to buy it. Okay, so with my laser level up, again nice and high, you can see basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lie the laser line, which you can see moving here, and I understand with the light in the hangar, the visibility of this line may not be as good as it could be, but what I'm doing is I'm just shifting the camera tripod enough, and as I pivot the laser level, you can see how it's coming a line between the vertical mark on the rear block and my vertical mark on the popsicle stick down on the other side. So it's just a matter of shifting the camera tripod, and sometimes a little bit goes a long way depending on how far your tripod is away from the wing when you're doing this. Laser level, it doesn't really matter. Again, it's kind of like a rifle sighting type of a procedure. So sometimes just bumping that tripod a little bit makes quite a bit of movement. Now that's pretty good alignment between the front and the rear. Could probably shift it just a touch. Here to line the back up a little bit closer. And that's pretty close on for the way that I marked it before. But as you see, that's the basic concept. See if I zoom in on these laser lines a little bit, you'll see where I'm at here. Pretty much on the money there, and down on the other end on my popsicle stick. Pretty much on the money. So I know my marks on either block are lined up. And as you can see, the laser marks fall across these ribs pretty well, so you know where it is that you're going. Alright, a little closer shot here now of where the laser line falls across this rear block for the anti-drag wire on this final bay. As you see, I used a fine point Sharpie to make my lines, and I extended the line here. I just took a straight edge steel ruler, drew this across here, extended the line across the top of the spar in the rib. The reason that I'm doing this is because it gives me a visual guide for drilling the holes. And then I did the same thing up front. Just extended my line. Again, I already pre-marked these, so my laser isn't quite exact on this particular demonstration here, but you get the idea. My extension marks are already on the spars up there. So now we can take our popsicle stick off, shut our laser level off, and move on with the drilling. Okay, now we're ready to drill the hole through here, and again, this is going to be drilled on center because it's the last wire bay, and it'll run from the center on the leading edge spar block. Anti-drag will be slightly lower on the rear spar than center. As you can see, when I was going through and marking them, I made a little error here because I wasn't, but I did catch it, so I kind of crossed that out. Now what this piece of welding rod that I put on the top here, again, it's in line with my bit, and depending on the camera angle here, it may or may not look like it to you. But I can use this mark that I put on top of the spar once I get my drill bit started here. So I know I've got the alignment that I need in line with the other block, center line. And my little level that I taped to the top of the drill here, I'll center the bubble, and actually I found if I ride with this drill just a little bit to what would make it look like a dropped butt end of the drill, I get the best approach, best alignment between the two holes. So here we go. Go ahead and I'll support the battery, the butt of the drill here. Gives me a little better, a little less wiggle while I'm drilling. And it's just a little at a time to start. Clear the bit. May not look like my welding rod is in line with the black mark to you because of the way the camera is angled. It's not dead on. A little bit at a time here. Back it out, clear it. If you find yourself a little bit off as far as the level or straight, just back out, ease it back in, clear it out. The bit clean, get a nicer hole. I'm just starting with my short regular bit here. Got a little helicopter noise in the background here. Somebody must be doing some touch and goes. It's one of the things I like about having my project at the airport. It keeps me motivated. See a lot of flying going on. Okay. I'll switch here to my longer bit just because I have the room to do so. I've already got the hole pretty much through. Again, fire it up, start pushing. Easy on the pressure. Now I'm through the other side. Pull it out. Take a look. Nice. Came through pretty clean on the backside. I can take my larger 3/16 inch bit. That was a 1/8 that I used for the pilot. Gives me some room to correct if I do make a little bit of an error on the angle when I'm drilling. And this doesn't take much pressure at all. The drill bit will pretty much pull itself right through the hole. Make sure I'm still in line, level. A little at a time. Cleaning it out, clearing it out, clear the bit, in and out. Not rocket science. There's room for a little error in here. Through the other side, so I'm going to ream a little bit here because I found that these holes do get tight. These are actually bought from Ace Hardware. They're listed as an aviation drill bit. Now we'll check the fit of the wire. Okay, so we've blown the dust, or I should say the drill dust, wood dust, out of the hole. This is a 3/16 inch wire. It started in the hole here. A little twisting motion as I go. It's snug, but as you can see, I can push it through here pretty darn well. I don't need to do any more reaming on this. Came out nice and in line with my mark. This is top view. You can see the alignment of the wire with the mark that I made across the spar. You can see that it came out really nice and clean on the compression strut over here. And you can see that it came out a little bit below my spar center line on the back of the front spar, which is where I want it, because remember, my rear blocks are drilled below the center line. So it's going to have a bit of an angle on it. Okay, we're getting ready to do the rear spar block for the anti-drag wire that we just drilled the hole for on the leading edge spar. One of the things that I definitely want to do is back this other drag wire out here, because it's going to cross through the same block, and I don't want to be nicking up this wire with the drill bit as I'm going through this back side over here. So let's go ahead and get this one going. We'll grab the drill and the bits. Again, this is how I start my drills. Center punch. Alright. Starting out with just a regular 1/8 inch drill bit. As you can see, I've got enough room to get the drill in between these ribs here. No special right angle attachment required. Make sure that I'm in line here with my welding rod guide, and my bubble
is just a touch showing that the rear of the drill is dropped, and that's just the way that it is on this drill for a good level hole. So here we go. It may not look like it's in line to you because of the camera angle. However, I assure you it is pretty well straight line. Get a little light pressure, get the hole going, back out. A little at a time. No rush to get these done. Doesn't matter if you got a jig or not. Still slow to get a clean hole. Alright, I'll support the battery end of the drill now as I'm going to go a little deeper. Out. As you're going through the epoxy seam that holds the block to the spar, you're going to find some of your drill dust kind of hangs up in the bit a little bit more. Back it out, bring it up. Out. One of the things I can do is extend the bit out a little bit less than the cup. Allows me to get a little deeper again still without having to have a 90-degree attachment. Clear it. Out 3/16 in. Line here. Push this in. It pretty well feeds itself. It'll draw itself in. You're going to have to be careful it doesn't go too fast. Clear it. Take this nice and easy. Making sure that I'm keeping the drill level. On the other side now, feel the drill go through. Clean it out a little bit. Don't put much up and down pressure on this bit, you'll snap it off. And let's see how it fits. do reaming yet. Okay. Through. Twisting. Bolt. This other drag wire through one in the bay. As you can see, I have no problems with clearance between the two wires. And there you go. Zoom out a little bit here. All right, there's the wire that we just drilled, installed. You see it's nice and straight. In line. A little shaky here with the zoom, but it's clean into the compression strut through the spar. The alignment should be fine. Here's the other wires. The other bay, this is the left wing, left half of the wing. Here's the bay with the 1/4 inch drag and anti-drag wires. Middle bay, the start of the outside bay. Okay, so that's how I'm doing my drag and anti-drag wires. I'm sure there's a number of other ways to do it. You could probably, if you're really good freehand, stretch a string between the bays, put a piece of tape on either side, with the spar, and use the string as a guide. If you're that good, fantastic. This takes only a few minutes to mark up. I think the thing that takes the most time is just rifle sighting the laser level down your mark on either the front or the rear spar. If you're careful in the way that you level the drill as you go through the spar, you shouldn't have any alignment problems with the wires. I haven't had any wire collisions, where they cross in the center of the bay using this method. And again, when you're reaming, be careful. They need to be reamed anyway for the most part a little bit. So if you do have a slight issue with alignment, you can get it straightened out on the reaming. Look forward to seeing other people's projects, and wish you guys a lot of luck on yours. I know I'm having a lot of fun with mine, and hopefully we do some more video things like this as we go along, sharing tips and tricks. Appreciate all the tips and tricks that other builders have taken the time to post, whether it be on a site like biplaneforum.com or some of the other sites that are out there, sharing your ideas. Really, that's what it's all about, passing on the knowledge, handing it down to our future generations as well. Good luck.